Sue, body up the middle, making another move to the outside. 15, 10, end zone again.
Keeps it. Nice move by Brown. He's got space. He's got 6. 35-yard touchdown for Byron Brown. A record-setting night for the South Florida quarterback.
Down so far, a little bit of a high snap. Genty right up the middle. Genty has room. Ashton Genty, give him 6.
Second and long. Lagar tries to fit it in a row. It does. Rowe stays up. The show's off his 4-3 wheels. Incredible effort for Rowe.
The G5 Hive. All G5, all the time.
Welcome to the G5 Hive Live, where we're excited to bring you G5 college football coverage you love each and every week. I am Luke, and I'm joined by my co-host, Justice. If you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe button. And if you're watching us on X, please give us a follow, a like, retweet. If you're listening to us in podcast form, please rate and review. The G5 Hive merchandise store, now live. Link in our YouTube video comments, as well as pinned on our X page. And at the bottom of the screen here is pretty cool. We got a little shout out on Christmas morning. One of our fans got a shirt. I'm not sure who who gave him the gift, but it was pretty cool to see that was a Christmas gift for somebody. Let's move over to the G5 Hive Conference USA All-Conference team. Offensive-wise, quarterback Tyler Huff, Jacksonville State. Running back Trey Stewart, Jacksonville State. Running back Quentin Cooley, Liberty. Wide receiver Eric Rivers, Florida International. Wide receiver True Edwards, Louisiana Tech. Wide receiver Omari Kelly, Middle Tennessee. Tight end Holden Willis, Middle Tennessee. Offensive tackle Marshall Jackson, Western Kentucky. Offensive tackle Will Osteen, Jacksonville State. Offensive guard Rodney Newsome, Western Kentucky. Offensive guard Jordan White, Liberty. Center Cannon Yarrow, New Mexico State. Kicker Lucas Carnero, Western Kentucky. And that is our offensive team. I don't know why my voice inflection made me think that there was another one. I'm sorry about that if you're listening to it. The other name that we kind of thought about here for, again, was I think everything we were pretty much agreeing on, but it was do we find room for Keyshawn Johnson for Western Kentucky? Is there a spot for him on there? Ultimately, we decided not to have him in there, but that was a name in consideration.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I feel like for the most part, all these guys were pretty cut and dry. Not really anyone other than a receiver. And I think Eric Rivers was cut and dry, right? It was those other two spots with True Edwards, Omari Kelly, and Keyshawn Johnson, kind of where we were really kind of, I guess, having some discussion in terms of who we thought deserved it more.
Holden Willis, I mean, he was one of the better tight ends in all of the G5. Lucas Carnero, a rarity, my player of the week towards the end of the season there with a big kick.
Because he sent them, but his kick sent them to. He had 2 50-yarders in that game that sent them to the Conference USA Championship game.
Yep. So,
unlike the AAC, we do have quite a few transfers here on the offensive team for Conference USA. Eric Rivers transferring to Georgia Tech. Wide receiver, all 3 wide receivers are in the transfer portal. Eric Rivers going to Georgia Tech. True Edwards has not picked a destination yet. True Edwards initially declared for the NFL draft, but then they had that JUCO ruling, so he has another year of eligibility. So then he entered the portal, but he has not picked a destination yet. Omari Kelly has transferred to Michigan State. Offensive guard Rodney Newsome transferred to South Carolina. Offensive guard Jordan White has transferred to Vanderbilt.
So 5 of 13.
Yeah. Tyler Huff, Trey Stewart, Quentin Cooley, all out of eligibility. Quentin Cooley and Trey Stewart, I think we will probably see in the NFL, at least as UDFAs. I don't know that Tyler Huff will be in the NFL, but maybe we'll see him in the CFL or the USFL. But yeah. All right, let's move over to the All Conference USA defensive team. Start with edge Chris Murray from Sam Houston, defensive tackle Chris Bodie, Liberty, defensive tackle David Blay, Louisiana Tech, edge TJ Bush Jr. for Liberty, linebacker Travion Barnes, Florida International, linebacker Kavion Gaither, Sam Houston, linebacker Tyler Martinez, New Mexico State, safety Caleb Weaver, Sam Houston, safety DeMarco Williams, Western Kentucky, cornerback Brian Blades II, Florida International, cornerback Anthony Johnson Jr., Western Kentucky, and punter George Eberly, New Mexico State. Probably the two positions where maybe there was some discussion or some other folks that were deserving of consideration. First was probably defensive tackle, where Hosea Wheeler at Western Kentucky had a great season. But probably the biggest one, and I think if I had to do this over, I might choose differently, and that's safety with Fred Perry at Jacksonville State. Jacksonville State had a trio of great safeties this past season, and if I had to do it over today, I probably would have picked one of those safeties, most likely Fred Perry, to be on the All Conference USA G5 Hive team.
Would you have put him over DeMarco?
DeMarco Williams, yeah. I mean, Caleb Weaver, yeah, no question. He would have been on there. But I probably, if I had to do it over, I would probably put Fred Perry in over DeMarco Williams.
All right. Offensive Player of the Year. Quarterback Tyler Huff, Jacksonville State. Tyler threw for 2,543 yards and 14 touchdowns while rushing for 1,344 yards and another 15 touchdowns. He threw for over 300 yards twice versus Eastern Michigan and in the bowl game versus Ohio. He had his season high of 364 yards in that bowl game. He rushed for over 100 yards in 6 games with his season high of 177 yards coming against Sam Houston. His play on the field led the Gamecocks to their first ever Conference USA championship this season. Congrats on the amazing season, Tyler.
This one, I guess, was a little bit of a debate with us, right? Between him and his teammate, Trey Stewart, running back Trey Stewart.
Yes. Yep. I think it just came down to, I think it was the number of touchdowns on the ground. Like Tyler Huff had more touchdowns on the ground than the running back, and then obviously, I'm not so sure that Jacksonville State would have been in the position that it was without Huff, and just how that system works with Rich Rod and whatnot. And it's going to be this quarterback. Yeah, that's the reason we ended up going there with Tyler Huff.
Yeah, I think. I mean, and you saw it in the Conference USA Championship game. Trey Stewart ended up with a great game, but most of his damage came in the second half. Tyler Huff is the one that really stood out to me. He was so valuable on that offense. And to your point, I think if you were to replace Tyler Huff, I don't think they win the Conference USA Championship. If you were to use another running back other than Trey Stewart, I think they still win and make the championship game. And so I think Tyler Huff just meant so much. The offense meant so much to the team. and so he got our nod as our Conference USA Offensive Player of the Year. Our Conference USA Defensive Player of the Year, safety Caleb Weaver from Sam Houston. Caleb had 97 total tackles, 69 solos, 2.5 tackles for loss, 6 pass defenses, 4 interceptions, 1 forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. Weaver, who began his college career as a walk-on, had a season-high 11 tackles twice, once versus Jacksonville State and again in the bowl game versus Georgia Southern. He had a quarterback rating against of 34.6 and an adjusted net yards against per coverage snap of negative 0.085, which ranked 7th among G5 safeties. His stellar play on defense led the Bearcats to their first ever FBS Bowl victory in the New Orleans Bowl. Congrats, Caleb, on the outstanding season. Of all the ones we've talked about tonight, this one was probably the one we had the hardest time with. And it was trying to decide between Caleb Weaver and Travion Barnes, the linebacker at Florida International. Because Travion had a phenomenal season. He had a phenomenal season as well. Then it was definitely a tough choice picking between those two guys. At the end of the day, we went with Caleb. His play on the field was instrumental in leading that Bearcats defense, and getting them to the point where they were like one win away from making the Conference USA championship game. And so we just felt like Caleb Weaver was so instrumental in Sam Houston's win total this season and leading that defense. And so we gave the nod to Caleb Weaver, but Travion Barnes had an outstanding season, one of the top tacklers in all of college football. And sadly, we won't get to see either one of them in the G5 next year. Caleb Weaver is transferring to Duke, and Travion Barnes is transferring to Baylor. So we'll see him in college football. We just won't see him in the G5.
And you talk about being instrumental in helping get Sam Houston to a game within the conference championship. Sam Houston a year ago was the last team to get an FBS win with like 2 or 3 games left to go in the season. Here they are, end the season with a bowl win over Georgia Southern. They end up 10-3, and it seemed like this conference, there was like these tiers. How it started, where we thought things would go, and then how it finished. You got Jacksonville State, Sam Houston, Western Kentucky, and I think I was
they were in their own tier, I think.
And I was big on the Sam Houston. I didn't think Western Kentucky was going to be as good as they were this year. And I think you thought they would be. I think you thought they would be better than I thought they would be.
Yeah, I think I had Liberty and Western Kentucky in the championship game, and I think you had Liberty and Sam Houston.
And then we thought Liberty would be up there. They kind of were a tier below that. With
Liberty did not look good this year, and really in any game they played, in my opinion. They didn't look like Liberty from a year ago.
And then, and if you want to say Western Kentucky and Liberty were in the same tier, like I'm not going to argue with you. Like they were around there. And then it was like everybody else, and it was like Louisiana Tech, FIU, UTEP, New Mexico State, Kennesaw State. Middle Tennessee, just kind of everybody else. I guess I would say it's probably Louisiana Tech, FIU, and then it was probably everybody else. I guess if I had to do that over, I did it with the last team or last conference. What are your thoughts going into 2025? Do you feel like Sam Houston has the upper hand? You got a new head coach coming in, but you keep. You're going to have the same quarterback. They made big strides. You've got Liberty.
They do. They lose so much on defense, though, man. Sam Houston loses a ton on defense.
Jacksonville State loses their head coach. Western Kentucky's gets a new quarterback. I'm trying to remember who transferred in.
Maverick McIver, Abilene Christian, following his offensive coordinator, who's now the Western Kentucky OC.
Then Liberty, you got Vasco that you mentioned. And then FIU gets a new head coach. UTEP gets a former number 1 quarterback, Malachi
Nelson.
And overall, I really like what UTEP was building. I think they're probably still a couple years away, but maybe this accelerates things a little bit. We'll see how Malachi's arm strength is and whatnot. And then you got Kennesaw State with, that head coach leaves. Middle Tennessee should have stability there at quarterback.
But they lose Omari Kelly. Holden Willis graduates.
This will be an interesting. FIU obviously loses a whole bunch of talent.
Both the receivers are off to Georgia Tech. Keon Jenkins did return for him though. So
yep. So this will be a kind of a wild, almost like the I would almost say it's like the Big 12 of the G5 conferences. It's like you could do a coin flip on maybe every game next year, and like, all right, yep, that team, and then you do a bracket, and then that team wins. Like this could be. It almost, each year it almost seems like somebody different could win.
If I had to pick today, I think I'd probably put Western Kentucky 1, Liberty 2. The offensive line, like I haven't paid attention to what they're doing in the portal, but they've got to address that offensive line for them to make it back to the Conference USA Championship game. I'd probably put Sam Houston 3. They lose so much on defense. And then Jacksonville State, I don't know where to put them. I haven't dug deep enough into that coaching staff, kind of like to learn like what kind of offensive scheme they're going to run, what their personnel is going to look like. Those I think those would be my 3. I'd go Western Kentucky 1, Liberty 2, Sam Houston 3. Sam Houston has. I think they got a great coach, offensive-minded coach anyway. The key for them is going to be rebuilding that defense. That defense was such a critical part of their success here in 2024, and they're going to need to rebuild that defense to kind of be able to have the same success in 2025.
Well, that does it for us this week. Come back and join us next week as we continue with our all G5 Hive conference teams. We'll cover the MAC, the Mountain West, and the Sun Belt, as well as finish everything off with our G5 Hive All-American team. And always bring you up to date with all the latest news and happenings in the world of G5 college football. If you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe button. And if you're watching us on X, please give us a retweet, a like, and a follow. If you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please subscribe and leave those 5-star ratings. It's great for the algorithms. We want your guys' support. If you guys like what we're doing, help support us. Thank you for all your support. Until the next time, we are the G5 Hive.